Good afternoon and welcome back to St Albans. So I am in my waders today, and I thought since I am in my waders I can probably give you some sort of a plot tour of plot 79, but it is still really flooded, so don't expect to see too much, but I'll show you the state of everything anyway, because I think it's important to show just how bad it is now, and it'll give us a point of reference as well as we go forward. Yeah, let me flip you around. So here we are at the start of plot 79. This is the wildflower patch, probably the only thing that's doing anything at all on this plot at the minute. It still needs cutting back and stuff, and there's a few brambles overgrown now, but we do have some stuff growing in there. So there's some calendulas still hanging on, and then there's some little tiny things growing there. I think there's some little foxgloves there as well, and we should hopefully get a few other bits and bobs pop up. So we just need to give that a good weed, but we're not spending too much time on this plot tidying or weeding or anything until we know that this situation is going to get a little bit better. Ignore the arch, I've just taken that out of the water in my waders. So yes, here you can see is where the water is up to. It did go down a little bit. It went down to about here-ish a few days ago, and the water company were meant to have stopped their maintenance on their nearby water pump, but after one day of rain again it's gone back up, so we're not 100% sure if that has actually happened, whether they have finished their maintenance. Hopefully we can find out, but yeah, it did go down, but it's come back up again. And then on the right here we have not a lot going on. We've got a lot of stuff just kind of bundled here because it was obviously all spaced out lovely across the plot, and now we've had to move it out of the flooding and stuff to stop it bobbing around. Some logs that were taken from when two of the trees were taken down nearby. So there was an ash, there's a dead ash somewhere. I've completely lost where everything is now since it's all gone. Behind those sheds on the next plot down, there was an ash that's been taken down, and then there was another one just over there as well, and there was quite a lot of logs that were left behind because of that. So we took some of those with the idea to use them as like a table or something, maybe on plot 12 now. And then in here we have some, these are meant to be foxgloves. These ones have not done very well at all, and they have fallen off once, and you can see they've broken there, but the foxgloves themselves are still doing okay. The meadowfetchlings are also doing okay, but they've been in modules now for over a year and haven't really done anything, so not sure what's going to happen there. That's chamomile, some parsley, some primrose. What are these ones? Primrose. Primulas, there you go. And then a rose there as well, and we also have a honeysuckle growing up the homemade trellis there. The purple sprouting broccoli that's been in for probably a year, or just over a year now actually, that has started to form some heads on it now. I'm not expecting too much from it, but it does seem to be okay, apart from being a bit chewed up by caterpillars at the end of last season. The sprouts need to come out, they didn't really do anything at all. And I think that's a broccoli as well at the back, but I'm not 100% sure. And then we have, so I rescued this from the flooding, and it's looking very sad now. This is a jasmine that we put in, and I held off putting it in all year, and then a week after I put it in, we flooded. Really frustrating when I thought we were safe. And then another rose down there. Our shed is looking pretty empty now that we have the big shed on plot 12, which is quite nice. It's the first time I think since we've had this plot that you can kind of get in there and actually find stuff without having to root around. And then we have a few more. Sorry about the mess, it is really messy, but there's not much we can do about it at the minute. So here's a few different bulbs that Sergio did towards the end of last year. They've started to poke their heads through now, which gives you a bit of hope for the year ahead. There's our trug that's got the netting in, a few more bulbs. And then in the greenhouse, got a really runny nose as well. Hello, Sergio. Hello. So in the greenhouse, we've just put the staging back in actually. The plan was to move the staging, but given this is the only greenhouse we have that's usable right now, this is what we've done. So there's a lot of crap. We left the straw in here and some mice moved in. So they made a bit of a mess. We haven't got around to tidying. We don't spend a lot of time in this plot at all now. Our dahlias are in there looking a bit damp, so I'm probably going to need to sort those out before they rot too much. I did have some sawdust to kind of try and fix that. And then under here we have some of the stuff that we've just moved from plot 12 actually, to try and give things a better chance of germinating. So there's some peas, some some cauliflower, and some other things which I have forgotten. I think it might be sweet peas. Yeah, these ones are sweet peas. So sweet peas, regular peas, and cauliflower. And these are some brassicas from last year which we didn't do anything with. I don't know if they're going to be good to use now. I've just saved these microgreens from in the greenhouse. That's why I have the waders on. They were absolutely soaking wet, but they are doing okay. They're just very slow. Some more bulbs, don't know what this is. Some more leeks that are from last spring that I never did anything with. These are cuttings from grapes, and I don't know what that is either. Oh yeah, and down here we have our strawberries that we've taken from runners this year as well. Ah, there's the sawdust. And then here we have some sweet peas, which are looking a little bit tatty, but they were just saved as well from the greenhouse, and you can see all the algae and stuff that's on the bottom because this staging was also in that greenhouse down there. I have a very runny nose today, I do apologise. This is a wisteria. It's still got some why can't I remember the name for nodules? It's not nodules. Buds, that's the name. Blimey. So it does have some buds on it, so it should be okay, but I had to rescue that from the flooding as well. Another rose, and then the grape, the original grape. This netting looked really nice up until a few days ago, and then the wind blew it all down, and now it looks terrible. But this has some purple sprouting broccoli in there. Nothing there because of the flooding, although I did want to put some more garlic in, but as it was going down, but I decided against it now. Some leeks that had done absolutely nothing. Some chard, which has done really well actually, even though it's been flooded. It looks really nice, so I think you could probably use that if we wanted to, especially for these smaller leaves down here. Some beetroot, some golden beetroot, and this is where the kalettes were, and this is where some more brassicas were, so there were some cabbages and sprouts there as well. They're all out now. And then I'll walk you around. I can walk into the plot because I have my waders on, but I won't do it from this end because I don't want to ruin the paths too much. But yeah, you can see just how bad the flooding is. So this is where our grape is, which still has some buds on it as well. This did survive the flooding from last time, so I'm not too concerned about that. Although maybe 2+ years of flooding is a little bit too much for it. So here I'm walking on where the cars drive around on the track, so it's not super deep here, but obviously it's still not great. But then down here is how we would have got, if I can find the edge, this is how we would have got, oh, you can see how deep it is. This is where we would have got to go to the seating area. And then on the right here is where we did our onions. And then a bit further down there was a square bed in front of where the pond goes, where that thing is sticking out. This is where we did the garlic. I have to be really careful not to trip over anything because I can't even see into this water. And then this is where the broad beans were and some lettuce, and that's where the chrysanthemums were as well. And we had our strawberries next to it in that trug over there, which we've taken out of the water for obvious reasons. They seem to be doing okay. Our seating area is a catastrophe. All the flooring has come up, the bench is floating around, Poppy's ball is floating around, and it's just a bit of a nightmare. But you know, at least it's contained, I guess, and it's a good test of how well we put that together. So it gets a little bit shallower here, but not a lot. Definitely couldn't walk here with wellies. The other day the water was above this, and then it went right down, and that's gone back up again, and the water is now above the water line, so making our lovely clean renovated greenhouse quite dirty again. Oh, actually I'll go this way because I haven't seen what's down here for a few weeks. So these cameras actually, so we've still got one there, and there's also one at the back of the greenhouse on the outside. We've actually moved the battery, the solar panel and the home base for the cameras right onto plot 12, which is right on the other corner of the site, and amazingly they still connect, and that is just madness to me. They must be using some crazy good technology to be able to transmit the signal that far. But yeah, we only need one home base and we can have cameras on both plots. I'll leave a link in the description about the ones we use. They're not the cheapest, but you know what, they're really showing their value at the moment, because we've obviously caught people breaking into the plot, and now the fact that we know, I mean this is miles away from plot 12 all the way over there, and that still connects to the home base all the way over there, so we don't even need a battery or a solar panel on this plot at the moment to power a home base. We only have a couple of little solar panels to keep the actual cameras themselves charged, but nothing else. Right, so what have we got? Under here we have some more, I think these are all purple sprouting broccoli, which, you know, they're a bit floppy, but they are surviving. And then under there was some sprouts, and I know for a fact sprouts don't cope at all with flooding because we lost some before. I have to be really careful here because the ground is quite soft and it would be quite easy for me to get stuck in the ground. So I have to move slowly and carefully. You never know, this could be my final ever video. That's a joke. I obviously won't die on this video. Right, and this is our blackcurrant, which also has some buds on it, surprisingly, but this also survived the last flood, although the last flood we hadn't pruned it quite so hard. So fingers crossed it copes quite well. All of our compost is soaking wet. All the wood chip that we shoveled ready to tidy up after the last floods in November, that's just sitting there soaking up water and rotting down. Be a waste of my time really doing that, but I wasn't to know. And then we get towards the end where the compost bins are also soaking up lots and lots of water, and we're hoping to move these once the water goes down. It's going to be a really big job to move it, but we want to move these over onto plot 12 because they're not obviously not doing anything at all here, just a waste of time. So this is all the fresh stuff. This is all the stuff that needs to be turned and needed to be turned a long time ago. And then this is all the stuff that should have been ready to use, but that's obviously all going to be soaking wet now. So the plan is, when this is all eventually dried out, or at least not flooded, we want to empty this one either into bags or just use it somewhere on plot 12, move the compost bin, and then we'll need to then empty this compost bin wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow and put it into the one that we've just moved onto plot 12. And then once that's empty, we can move this one and then do the same with this one, which won't be such a big job because this is half full and it's you know, not completely rotted down, whereas this one it's going to be a nightmare to do, especially while it's wet. But it is worth doing because these are just going green. They're just horrible, and it's like we bought these brand new as a treat to ourselves. And there's a big crack forming in it now as well. And yeah, it's just a waste of money and time leaving them on this plot. It's really sad because plot 79 was meant to be, you know, our plot. It was our baby. We spent a lot of time and, to be honest, quite a lot of money on it as well. But it's just not worth the hassle. We were keeping the plot and we'll just use it as it won't be the main plot. Plot 12 will be the main plot and this will just be used whenever it's free, but we're not going to spend too much more time like building stuff or renovating it or anything like that. We'll just use it for the actual space. Yeah, that's the situation currently on plot 79. There we go. The first plot tour of plot 79 for 2022. Not quite as happy a story as plot 12, but I still think it's quite important to show. I apologise if the audio was a bit bad today. I'm sniffling quite a lot. Obviously I'm walking around in water and I don't have a proper microphone on because I don't want to risk it while I'm in water. But hopefully it was okay. And hopefully the next time that we show you plot 79, the water will have gone down and we can start to use it again. But as I say, we're not going to spend too much more time improving this plot until we know it's going to be usable for a bit longer than just 3 months of the year. So most of our work will be on plot 12 for the short term at least anyway. But that's it for today. I know it's not quite as happy a story as plot 12, but yeah, hope you enjoyed it still. It's still interesting, I think, to see how it gets, and we can maybe try to hold the water company to account, at least if we have documentation of how bad it gets. Anyway, before I ramble too much about the water company, because I could do that for hours, I think it's time to say goodbye. So from me, Sergio and Poppy, take the very best of care and we'll see you again soon, probably on plot 12.